Are you tired of taking L's on the SAT math section? Don't worry, I got you. Today we're going to go over 10 tips guaranteed to give your score that boost it needs. So, my first tip is to just get really good and comfortable at solving equations and dealing with linear equations. So, by linear equations, this includes but is not limited to things like graphing equations of lines, dealing with slope and y-intercept in context. If you know these skills, you can pretty much do the majority of SAT problems. Like if you knew nothing about math and only studied what I just mentioned, you could get a pretty decent score on the SAT. To practice equations and linear equations, I recommend using the free SAT math course that Khan Academy offers. My next tip is to use Desmos. Like seriously, you guys can cheese so many problems and get them in like 2 seconds if you just plug the problem into Desmos. Not to sound like a boomer, but back in my day, we didn't have all this Desmos on our SATs. We did the math by our hands. Seriously, like we were just using regular calculator, and half our section was non-calculator. So you guys are really lucky to have this. So use it. My third tip is that questions go in order from easy to hard. I actually didn't know this when I was studying for the SAT back in the day when I was on that SAT grind trying to get into college. But yeah, once you know this, and it actually makes a lot of sense looking back cuz like it's pretty obvious once you know this. But once you know this, it's a game changer because you can really plan accordingly. This brings me to my next point, which is don't be afraid to skip around and do the test in a non-linear order. Like just go through the test really quick and pick out and nail those questions that you know how to do 100%. Remember, they don't give you a lot of time, so make sure you at least pick off all the easy ones and you know that the ones towards the end you can skip for later and just make sure you nail those really easy ones. My next tip is to plug in the answer choices if you don't know what you're doing. So, what I mean by that is if you look at the screen, the question I have on screen, if you don't know how to solve this equation, you can just plug in the answer choices given and just see which one makes the equation work. My sixth tip is to get so good at answering those easy questions in the beginning of the test that you don't even need to think about them. You can just look at it and like mentally just get the answer right away. This will save you so much time and allow you to really devote your energy to those hard problems at the end of the test so you can get a perfect score or a near perfect score on the math section. I'm sure you've heard this next tip a ton, but I'm going to reiterate it anyways. Make sure to underline things in the questions. When I used to take SAT practice tests, a lot of times I would just miss questions on like the most stupid things. Like I would know how to do the question, but the answer choice asked for like 2x instead of x. And I didn't notice that. And I put what I solved for x and I got it wrong. So just make sure to underline so you just don't miss those like stupid little things that will tank your score. Tip number 8 is to practice your weaknesses. Everyone's got different skill sets, so make sure you really tailor your SAT practice to what you do best and what you do worse. So if you're not great at like, I don't know, solving quadratic equations, for instance, like maybe you had a bad algebra teacher and that like unit didn't really sink in, well devote like a week to quadratics so you know that when those problems come up on the SAT, you're not gonna like miss points just because you're weak in that area. My ninth tip is to start doing practice tests pretty close to your exam. Make sure you time it, like use your phone as a timer, and be honest and don't go over the time and don't cheat and look at answers. Like, act like there's actually a proctor in the room and that you're actually taking your SAT. This will be good because this will simulate the conditions of the exam and you'll know what to expect and how you do with the time management moving forward going into the exam. My last tip is one you might not have thought of. Eat a good breakfast on the day of your test. I'm being serious. Like, don't eat some like highly processed, high in sugar, high carb meal because what this is going to do is it's going to spike your blood sugar and then you're going to crash during the exam. What I recommend is a high protein, high fat meal that will sustain you throughout the course of the exam. So for breakfast, I'd recommend eating something like maybe eggs, bacon, sausage. You can throw some fruit or vegetables in there and some milk if you're not lactose intolerant. You can also eat some yogurt. That's pretty good too. Eat something like that, and that'll sustain you and give you the energy and boost you need to do awesome on your exam. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. If you still need help with the practicing for the SAT math section, check out the link in the description below. As always, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in future videos.